sir, about wage.
Yung wage, so maybe you are asking about this wage increase because of the recent news about the increase of 21 pesos here in Metro Manila. And surprisingly, 40 pesos in my region. So there is a suspicion na parang pinaboran ko ang ang region ko. The increase is extremely high, but that is not actually an increase. It is called wage adjustment. And this is studied, assessed in the region, the economic situation in the region, and the tripartite wage board makes the recommendation. And not only a recommendation, but a decision. So it is not the Department of Labor or the Secretary of Labor who issued the wage adjustment. It is the tripartite board. It is composed of a representative from labor, a representative from the employers or management, and one from Department of Labor. And they come up with an assessment of the respective situation in the different regions, and on the basis of this, they make or they decide on a salary adjustment. Yung salary increases, that is the mandate of Congress. It is only Congress who can increase the salaries of our employees. Hindi ang Department of Labor. Kasi marami nagsasabi na ang kunat ng Department of Labor, bakit hindi tinatasan? It is only Congress who can do that. Of course, we can recommend, but the mandate is with Congress.
Okay, I have a question about wage. Rose?
Sir, magkano
Ross.
po yung nirekomenda yung wage hike?
Wala pa, hindi pa kami tinatanong eh.
In case po tanungin kayo, magkano po yung i-recommenda?
Bakit? Siyempre, tatanungin ko si Secretary Dominguez, tatanungin ko si Secretary Pernia, lahat ng mga ating mga finance advisors na ating Pangulo, tatanungin ko yan. Siyempre, tatanungin lahat ng mga ating mga finance nila. Pero ang hinihingi nila, 1,000 eh. Although, last week we had a discussion na, I was discussing it with my Undersecretary Magluzod. How do you know? How did you guess? They might settle for that, yung proposal na yung 500 pesos subsidy. Oh.
Hindi na po across the board wage
Hindi na yun. Sabi nila, kung hindi ma-afford talaga, siguro we'll settle for yung 500 peso subsidy. Pero kako, kailangan yung TBM ang kausapin natin dyan.
Pag in case po na yung 500 subsidy yung ipopropose nyo, magkano po yung halaga ng pangkalahatang ipagkakaloob ng gobyerno kung sakasakali?
Siyempre, ang magko-compute dyan ang DBM.
Sa pag-ano nyo, sir, sa tansya nyo, ilan po yung mga manggagawa sa buong Pilipinas na pwedeng bigyan ng ganyan?
42 million.
42 million times 500 pesos.
Oo. Malaki yan. Malaki yan.
Okay, question about wage. Other issue. Laila Salaveria.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, the President has repeatedly said that he doesn't want to talk to the communist rebels anymore. Have we sent a formal notice to terminate the peace talks?
Not yet, not yet.
Why not, sir?
Well, when the President mentioned about not talking to them, probably our President was referring to the two canceled talks that we were supposed to hold or would have held sometime in June and then in July. If you recall, we were supposed to meet for the fifth round, formal round of talks, June 21. He ordered that canceled for a very good reason. Then we were on our way to a back channel on July 19 for a 2021 back channeling, which again he canceled, and again for a good reason. But that did not mean that the talks were cancelled or terminated. And we have been consistently saying that in order to terminate the talks, either of the parties have to serve the party with a written notice of termination. And the termination takes effect 30 days after receipt of that notice of termination.
So you're saying, sir, the pronouncements of the president were just referring to specific meetings,
Yes.
not the entire...
Yes, I think so.
So
Because
have you
if you
discussed this
recall,
with
when
him?
the president came in as our president, he made a very clear statement that this legacy to our country and our countrymen is a lasting peace for our country. So I don't think that the president has abandoned that legacy.
Sir, have you discussed this with him recently? Kasi he also mentioned recently that maybe it's the next president who could pursue the talks.
I really don't know, but the talks are alive, and we are just waiting for the president to give us the instruction to go back to the peace table.
Thank you.
Okay, no more questions? MPC? Okay. Thank you, Presidential, DOLE Secretary. Silvestre Bello
Bebo ka lang.
III, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning. A bit of fresh perspective. The World Bank cites countries' migrant worker support system. The concern of our OFWs remains as one of the priorities of the Duterte administration, and the World Bank, in its report entitled Migrating to Opportunity, mentioned that the Philippines has a good support system for migrant workers with the Department of Labor and Employment, Philippine Overseas Employment Agency, POEA, and Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, OWWA, having clearly defined institutional responsibilities. In addition, the World Bank cited that in the Philippines, attendance in orientation seminars is required before receiving a license and for renewal of license. World Bank also stated that the country has made it easier for migrant workers to find jobs abroad through the department's effort of listing job opportunities. There are two memoranda from the Executive Secretary. To Undersecretary Hermenegildo Valle, Department of Health, designation as officer in charge of the Department of Health. Under the instruction of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and to ensure the continuous and effective delivery of public service, please be informed that you are hereby designated as officer in charge of the Department of Health effective immediately. For your information and guidance by authority of the President, signed Salvador Medialdea. Hermenegildo V. Valle. Yusek po siya. Ang pangalawa, to Undersecretary Eliseo Mijares Rio, Jr., Department of Information and Communications Technology. Designation as officer in charge of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. 10 October 2017, as also the other one, 10th of October. Upon the instruction of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and to ensure the continuous and effective delivery of public service, please be informed that you are hereby designated as officer in charge of the Department of Information and Communications Technology effective immediately. For your information, guidance signed by authority of President Salvador Medialdea. So that's Undersecretary Hermenegildo B. Valle and Undersecretary Eliseo Mijares Rio, Jr. Come again? ERC, no comments about ERC. Okay. We're open to a few questions.
Okay, questions, MPC?
All right.
Mindanao Hour.
Data as of Wednesday, 11th of October. Enemies neutralized 811 or plus 9. Civilians killed 47. Civilians rescued, no change, 1,750. Firearms recovered, 829 plus 2. Unexploded ordnance recovered, 40. Improvised explosive device IED recovered, 4. Killed in action, 160. Buildings cleared, 37. Cash donations as of 3 p.m., 11th of October 2017, for the Marawi AFP casualties, 102,607,969.03, and for internally displaced persons, 1,136,595.
Okay, question? No more? Other issue? Okay, Joseph Moro.
Sir, pang backup lang for later. So yung pong order kahapon sa PIDEA will be the lead. Does that mean, sir, that we are calling off the Oplandoc and we are canceling that campaign?
Ang nangyari po dito is that na maging ano siya, that PIDEA becomes a sole agency to conduct the anti-drug operations, all right? So, ang nangyari po, na-degrade yung street distribution networks ng mga drug lords, so we now target higher echelons of the syndicates as well as their protectors in government. PIDEA will now bring policy focus, expert performance standards, high-level coordination and oversight, and centralized intelligence collection to the war on drugs. PIDEA will also lead in the establishing a broad anti-drug coalition working with agencies, LGU, civil society, the church, business, academia, and media to push prevention and rehabilitation initiatives. Regarding high court petitions, we welcome this opportunity to present the legal and policy basis for the nation's war on drugs. So, in other words, there is now an elevation of the campaign against illegal drugs, and PIDEA has now widened its scope. Thank you.
What, in an operational sense, sir, will we still see mga policemen doing the rounds in areas of the
I
Philippines?
believe that the lead agency will be PIDEA, and I believe, as far as his comment was, they will be the ones solely solely operating.
So there should be no more mga nangangatok na mga police.
As far as we understand it, PIDEA will be in charge.
Is this, sir, an admission that there was maybe some failure on the part of
Sir,
PNP?
I believe this has been subject to. It's not a question of failure; it's a question of more effectivity, optimizing the efforts, and widening the scope of responsibility.
Sir,
Okay.
thank you.
Ina Andolong, CNN Philippines.
Sir, you mentioned that there's been na-degrade na yung
A degrading of the street distribution networks.
distribution. Does this mean that the President is satisfied with the results
There's a
already of the PNP operations?
I believe satisfaction, but it should be that we should be drug-free. On the other hand, it means that there's been substantial advances in addressing the street distribution. So now it's time to upgrade not upgrade, but to bring the campaign to focus on the higher echelons of the drug trade.
Sir, does the directive have anything to do with the President's recent pronouncements that there are about 9,000 policemen involved in the illegal drug trade?
I'm sure that there are certain factors there. And so he at this stage, the President feels that has made an informed decision to empower PIDEA to do so.
Thank you.
Follow up, Alayla Salaveria.
Good morning.
Yes,
Sir,
ma'am.
what's the basis of the assessment that the street distribution networks have been degraded? Was there a PNP report on this or statistics, findings?
I'm sure there's a background. Based on results, they have come to this conclusion that there is a substantial degradation of the street networks.
Sir, which results are these? Are these the 3,800 killed in drug operations?
I believe it's not so much. I think that's framing it in a negative way. It's simply, I believe it. There are other factors, there are other indicators in making sure, like for example, higher prices, higher drug prices. So that indicates also that there has been it's being addressed, not totally, but it's being addressed.
Joseph, no more? Other issue?
Okay.
Drugs? JP, Bencito, question?
Hi, Spokes. Good morning po.
Yes,
Sir, can we get a reaction of the palace on the impeachment complaint, or rather, the impeachment of Comelec Chairman Bautista?
Well, Congress shall decide on what to do, with this impeachment in view of his resignation. We acknowledge the services of the chairman, and after his successor is named, we look forward to a smooth transition and preparations for barangay and SK elections next year, and midterm polls and possible BBL and charter change plebiscites in 2019. So basically, we have no comment regarding that.
Sir, we'd just like to get your opinion because apparently the chairman resigned yesterday, but it seems that later today, bigla siya na-impeach. Sir, do you think Congress still has time to push for the impeachment complaint? Also, won't this impeachment be a hindrance to the priority bills of the administration?
Sir, we don't have any. That's beyond our purview. That belongs to the Congress to decide on.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, MPC, okay na? No more questions? Okay, thank you, Presidential Spokesperson Ernesto Abella. Thank you, DOLE Secretary Silvestre Bello III. Back to our main studio sa Radyo Pilipinas and PTV.